Hey guys, I am Devon MD Jones, and welcome to another conversation with Sarah Mariano. And we have a special guest, Camille.
Woo!
You guys have probably heard us talk about her like a million times because one, we love her so much, and two, she's amazing. So, Camille is the chief operating officer of the Stretch Therapist. And yeah, we're going to get into it. We're not going to talk too much. But Camille, do you want, I can't even say your name. Camille, do you want to tell us a little bit about your role with the Stretch Therapist?
Oh man, how do I follow that intro? Jeez. Yeah, I mean, I'm the COO. I take care of pretty much everything that falls under operations, finances, personnel matters. Yeah, just everything. I support Sarah in whatever she needs. I support the team whenever they need. I do consider myself to be a little bit of a bridge between the two. And yeah, I don't know. I love what I do.
You're being so modest. Like,
I know, right?
Oh, come on.
you do finances, you
Oh,
help
man.
with accounting, you help with like anything legal.
Human resources.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that all that stuff. You know,
Yeah.
the stuff that no one really likes doing, but for whatever reason I find extremely like thrilling. I get a real deep thrill from these things.
Yeah, she just told me earlier today in our meeting that she's like, "Oh, I'm learning how to do corporate taxes." And I'm like, "Ugh, gross."
So much fun.
Oh my gosh. Hilarious.
I was so excited to tell her too, and she's just like, oh.
Yeah, big eye roll. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
seriously. Oh
Oh, you
man.
guys are hilarious. All right, so let's get into it. Number one,
Oh
how
god.
did you guys meet?
Oh my god. Okay, maybe I'll have you start the story.
I love our origin story
know.
because I think it's really funny because like it just, I don't know. We met at the gym, but not like working out because back then I didn't do that.
Yeah, you didn't really.
No, I did not. I was an assistant manager at like a big fitness chain here in Canada, here in Toronto. And
Good
Sarah,
life.
yeah, Good Life Fitness. And Sarah joined the team as a sales advisor. Is that what it was called at the time?
Membership sales consultant.
That one, that they changed the name of that so many times. Membership sales consultant. And for whatever reason, like we hit it off. Like as soon as she started, we just like really got into like a friendship, some unique kinship. Right from the start, I was very supportive of her in her administrative tasks that she didn't like doing.
Oh,
but, you know, she was a killer salesperson. She had a, you know, vivacious personality and just like great energy everyone wanted to be around. And like we used to work together. Was it every Sunday or every Saturday we worked together?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday. And it was just us two. And we would just we would leave and like take like an extra long lunch and get pedicures. Yeah,
You know, we did that during the week. We did that during the week.
Was it during the week? It was a long time. This was like 10 years ago, right? So we would go and get pedicures at the mall close by, and Sarah hated it.
Do you remember what you and Vanessa called me? You said you're like, can you fix your Jesus feet, please?
Oh yeah. So Sarah, as you know, she's very active, right? And like back then, like she was just like into snowboarding, into whatever. And I would just like, you know, the same way that she rolled her eyes at me doing corporate taxes, I would like roll my eyes at her like surfing and snowboarding. And so she was like, she was more focused on like things like movement and like, you know, things that actually matter within the body.
Working
out. Yeah. Exactly. And I was like, oh no, girl, you got to get a pedicure. Like, let's get those calluses cut off. Like just very shallow. I was like 18, 19 at the time. So.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're a nice baby.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Super shallow. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we I don't know if I want to talk about this. I'll let you share your side of the story.
Not much has changed.
Yeah, I know. And like I've adopted, you know, like some of that. Like I don't do my nails
all
anymore.
Natural.
Yeah, man. As much as possible. I love it.
Well, I'm just gonna add to that. So when I joined, do you remember that I auditioned with like two other dudes not auditioned or like
Oh, like
interviewed.
interviewed, yeah.
Interviewed with two other dudes, and I didn't get the job initially. And
Mm,
then 3 weeks in,
mm,
I get a call because the guy that was hired over me couldn't handle it, and he quit.
yeah, yeah.
And then I came on, and I just like rocked sales every month. I remember
Literally.
like my sales colleagues, every month they tried to beat me for as long as I was working. I think I did I want to say like 8 months of membership sales consultant before I switched to training,
PT,
personal training.
yeah.
And every month, and there's some months where I kind of slacked off, but then towards the end, I remember Paul or like Rolando or whoever was like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you this month." And I'm like hell you are, and then and then I just get a couple of sales, and then yeah, every month I was like number one at the club, which was pretty
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. That's awesome.
So, and like Camille was a big help because I never did my freaking admin. I'm still the worst at it. Uh, and yeah, she was my general manager, and like we got along really well, and then here we are 10 years later, working together
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
Awesome. So then how did you guys, were you guys friends the whole time, or did you like reconnect? Like what happened in between there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we never stopped being friends per se. We actually live really close by. Like my family's house is right next, like two streets over from Sarah's family's house. So we live in the same area. But she went and did her own thing. I think she started her business not long after leaving
Mm-hmm.
Good Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like on the fast track to like head office within that company. So we both were like heavily focused in our careers, just doing our own thing. I actually reached out to her a few years ago because I had like some back pain that was just like sucking the life out of me. And I was still in my 20s at the time. So I was just like, I can't go on like this. And yeah, that's just kind of how we rekindled our friendship, our kinship after all that time. And it's here we are today. But even before that, Sarah was my trainer. Sarah tells the story better. I don't want to
Oh
spoil
my
it.
god. So after I left Good Life, you Camille, you wanted training, but we would only do a half hour.
Yeah, that's
Like I
all I could
couldn't do anything
manage.
beyond a half hour, so
Mhm.
she'd come visit me at the condo I was living at the time, and it was basically her paying me just to chat. I'm like, just
That's
give me
what,
one burpee or a half burpee, or just get up off the ground, right?
sometimes that's a lot of personal training.
Yeah, yeah, for real, for real,
It's therapy.
for real.
But I don't even know how long that lasted because I think soon into it, you're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, 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 for
Exercise
sure.
is not for me.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years, like several years passed, and then yeah, Camille reached out to me a few years ago for some stretch therapy, and I don't know. Okay. So when you reached out for me for stretch therapy, I would pick your brain about communications. And
Yeah.
Devon and I talked about this in our last episode. Um, how I would ask you for help on like how should I write this email? You know, how should I communicate what I'm trying to, you know, say here and without alienating anybody. And you're always extremely helpful in that front. And I think as time went on, it was a few months into me treating you or stretching you, and then you helping me, that you were like, should we just like work together? And it kind of just happened organically. And that's not to say, and I don't know, oh, you haven't listened to the last episode. I talked to Devon about how we went through growing pains, and we can get into that later on today. Um, but it just happened organically. That's what
It
I
really
would
did.
say.
Yeah, it
But
really did. Yeah, it's crazy because I remember we were in the library of the condo that you were living in, and I don't even know what we were doing. I think we are just shooting the shit, to be honest. Like I think we just both had like admin day. I was still at my corporate job, so I had a work from home day, and then you had some stuff that you need to do. So I'm like, all right, like yeah, I'll come down, and you were like, I'm really so like you're like, when are you going to quit your job? That's what you said. You're like, when are you going to quit your job? And I'm just like, I don't
I
know, man.
hated it.
Like, yeah,
hated it.
I was not happy. And like, to be clear, my job was, I was in a role that was like created for me. Like it was really, really high up there within the company. And like, it paid pretty well, I guess not compared to like what I make now, but like it paid pretty well. And like, it was, yeah, like it was everything that I thought I wanted, but I hated it so much. So yeah, like Sarah's like, when are you going to leave that place? And I had started like my Harborfront brand at the time. So it was just like, I kind of had a little taste of what like entrepreneur life felt like. And yeah, I don't know, like it was like not until that April, like the April after, I think this was like in just before Christmas. And then in April is when I quit because we were doing so many things. I ended up taking a leave from work to focus on just like myself and whatever I wanted to do. And yeah, we did interviews during that time. We did a bunch of different like random things during that time. And yeah, I don't
Do you
know. It was
remember
just really eye-opening.
after your leave, you had to go back to work, and I knew you
Yeah.
weren't going to last. I think it was a week into
A
going back to
day.
work.
It was a
Or it
day.
was a day, and then you
Yeah.
messaged me and said, I quit my job. And I'm like, yes, I knew it!
Yeah. She was like thrilled. I'm like, yeah, man. Like it was because it was like, okay, I remember it super clear. Like that Friday, we had done an interview for a stretch therapist or something like that. And we were at Impact Kitchen because that's where we used to host our interviews and just like hang out. And after the interview, we met like a few people came in that you knew, and they just sat down and we just all started shooting the shit. They were also entrepreneurs. Actually, it was Sylvie and Angela that stopped by. Yeah, just so random. Sat down, we were talking. And in that moment, I had like this like light bulb, like eye-opening moment where it was just like, this could be my life. Like I could be sitting in Impact Kitchen in the near future, like doing this, exactly what I've been doing, what I love doing, you know? So that Monday, yeah, I was scheduled to go back to work. I went in, and I told my boss, like, I can't continue. So I didn't even stay the day. I left. And then, yeah, I messaged you and I was like, I quit.
Here we are.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
Here we are.
It's so interesting how like sometimes it takes you stepping back in order to be able to like make those decisions. Like for me, I had like one situation where I fell and hit my head and literally had a concussion and had to take a week off work and literally couldn't like work at all. First time I had to sign back on, and I looked at an email and it was like an emergency. And I was like, this is not an emergency. I don't care. And I literally walked in and I quit. Like, but it took like you literally all it was, I took a week off
100%.
and stepped away and totally disengaged and was able to actually take a real good look at my life and where I was and where I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, and I'm sure that happens to so many people, and so many people actually need that. So
yeah, creating space 100% because you're so preoccupied with like you said, shit that doesn't matter. Like doesn't matter to you. Like it might matter to someone else who's passionate about that industry or that company or whatever, but doesn't matter to you. And that's usually the biggest tell for you to, you know, create space for stuff that does matter.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so where we're at now. So that was the past. Here's the present. Where are we going? What is happening right now with stretch therapists? Like, so we were talking about lawyers, immigration, all that stuff. Like, what is the behind the scenes and stuff that even I don't have to deal with?
Oh God, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say because a lot of this is like still in the works and nothing's like super fun. There's some things that are final, some things that are just like still like we're in the process of, but I mean, like, it's no secret, like Sarah's in the States. That's the reason why she's there is she's always wanted to be there. That's been like day one vision for her and for the business. The majority of our clientele are from the US as well. So that's just where we're looking to be. And I'll just leave it at that. So with that, obviously being Canadians, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff has to do with taxes, cross-border taxes, immigration, Sarah being in the States legally, which she is, just to be clear. And yeah, just the nuances that come with that. Like, I don't want to sit here and bore everyone with like the heavy details of US immigration. It's fascinating, I'm not gonna lie. But
I actually think people want to hear, like,
yeah.
I'm
Some of
thinking,
it.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'm thinking it might be a good place to start, I guess, when last year in the middle of pandemic, when
Oh
we were
yeah.
trying to figure out how to get me to the States.
Right.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I would not have been able to do any of it without our amazing lawyer. We were working with an amazing lawyer. He knows his stuff. He's an immigration lawyer. So don't just go to anyone. Make sure you go to like an industry specific lawyer.
Mhm.
He's super familiar with Canadians trying to come to the States or working in the States legally, lawfully. I did my research. I did a lot. There was a lot of time that I spent doing research and making sure that I had everything that Sarah needed to make this as smooth as a transition as possible. Um, so yeah, just getting all the documents together, getting like job descriptions written up and like
Mhm.
just like documents photocopied, faxed, sent over, forms filled out. There were quite a few forms that we had to fill out and send and get signed. Um, and yeah, documents for travel, like so traveling with like letters that were signed by the proper authorities and signed by just like, legally binding people. Like it was a huge
It
process.
was.
And
And
it
there's so
was,
much gray area, right? Like,
yeah, and that's the reality. Yeah, I love that you brought that up because yeah, that was part of the reason why it was difficult is because like I would read something, but just the gray area the gray area for me was really around like the Department of Homeland Security. They're responsible, those officers that you see at the border, they're responsible or they have the final say as to who comes in and out of the country. So regardless of what documents you have, if they don't feel like you should be in the country for whatever reason, or they don't want you to cross the border, they can very easily, when you land, say, sorry, we're not granting you access. And I forgot the number of the clause within the law, but there's literally like a general clause that they can
yeah.
just cite and reference as like a
Yes, it
general
says something
excuse.
about like it's ultimately at the discretion of
Mhm.
the border patrol officer. And so like, and they don't have to give you a reason.
No, no, exactly. They just refer you to that section, you read it, and that's it. And then you got to get it the F out, right? Like you got to get out of the country. So that was the I guess the axe kind of hanging over our heads there, right? Like we had everything. We had everything. But at the end of the day, there was still a chance, and the lawyer was very clear with us that even with us jumping through all these hoops, we got it fast tracked through. We got something signed and fast tracked through the Department of Homeland Security as well. But even with their own stamp of approval, there was still an option for
Yeah.
them to not approve us and let us through. But thankfully, it all worked out. We're here today or Sarah's there today and everything's fine. Everything's good.
Well, I like even our lawyer that we worked with,
Mhm.
he was even like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Oh yeah. He did not give us any guarantees.
No, and
None,
he's like
none.
every day, he's like, honestly, guys, every day they change the policies.
100%. And
Literally,
this was under Trump's administration, just to
yeah,
be clear. So we all know how he feels about immigration, number
yeah.
one. Number two, like, yeah, it was the truth.
And we haven't even touched on the fact that this wasn't my first foray into trying to get a visa.
No,
No, remember back
no.
in 2017.
Yeah,
I wasn't even with you yet. You
no.
joined me in 2018. Both of you joined me 2018 and 2019, right? Yeah. And I was trying to get a work visa, and I had an immigration lawyer, and she was like, "Oh, you're gonna get through, no problem. We have all the documents. I've worked with hundreds of Canadians and blah 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 blah." And then when I got to the border, no, wait, didn't you drive with me? Oh my God, you drove with me to
The
the
land border
airport, and then
and then the land
we
border.
got to
Yeah.
the airport, and they're like, "Oh, you have to go to the land border." Then we drove all the way to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like they still, I applied a couple times per the recommendation of the lawyer, and they still denied me. And then I was red flagged for a while with no
Mhm.
real reason. The border officer just felt like I wasn't uh, like a real true consultant for the company in LA that I was supposed to help consult with fascial stretch therapy and get it off its feet. Anyway, fast forward like 3 years later. Can you believe that? It was just three
It's
years
crazy.
later. And
Yeah.
then here I am. So, with tenacity and perseverance and hard work.
Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, I used to have a lot of anxiety about travel because of that. Like, it was just, you've had like some pretty intense experiences. So it's so great to be able to see you travel around within the States, be in the States. And yeah,
Oh,
it's
it would
amazing.
remember all the anxiety I had. It's like not fun to go to the airport, if anyone listening has been, where they interrogate you for like, I think that in 2017 when I was trying to get a visa, I was interrogated for a total of 10 hours that week. And
It's
you're just
crazy.
sitting waiting for them to make a final decision based on how they felt, not based on any real facts, and telling you that you can't go through, and then taking your fucking documents and like, and you're
And how
just
much
like,
how much time and money did you spend on those too,
oh yeah.
right? Yeah, like it's not.
Actually, I also, so the lawyer I worked with that year, um, they kept guaranteeing me that I'd get through, and then giving me like advice that in the end wasn't really helpful, because then I ended up getting red flagged, and then they ghosted me.
Oh my
They
gosh,
they didn't even take my money. They just ghosted me. Yeah, because
that's
I was like,
crazy.
okay, they denied me again. Like, what should we do? And they told me they had a game plan, and then fell off the face of the planet.
Were
Yeah.
they Canadian? Were they a Canadian law firm?
US.
US law firm. Okay.
And it was a
Yeah.
referral through a friend.
Oh wow.
So there's another hardship that I had to face, and then I was
Yeah.
stuck. I didn't know what to do after, and I just like stayed in Canada because I was afraid and then my cousin died in the States, and I was too afraid. Like, I was traumatized by all of that interrogation, because they make you feel like you did
It's
something
something.
bad, like you feel guilty for no reason. So I didn't even go to my cousin's funeral
Mm-mm.
because I was like so stressed out going to the border. And like, thankfully now, knock on wood, that um it's been a more pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
man. Yeah. And it was, yeah, it's literally been years in the making. Like she really made sure that she had her ducks in a row. And yeah, that story about us driving, we went to the airport to speak to
Nexus
some
or yeah,
CBSA officers and Nexus. And then we drove to the land border per their direction. And I remember you were so nervous.
yeah.
You're like, Camille, like, it's not fun there. Like, it's literally like, it's the most intimidating experience. And I remember walking in and I'm like, yeah, you can feel the energy. It's different over there. But
I got through.
yeah, and I actually didn't even have like, I just had my license with me. I didn't
Yeah.
have, because I wasn't expecting to do anything. But remember, we spoke to the officer. He's like, "What's your name?" He was talking to me after he dealt with you, and I gave him my name. He's like, "All right." And then they're like, "If you guys want, you can just go to the States or you can go back home. It's up to you." Like, they were just so
Yeah.
chill about it. So
Yeah.
like, that was definitely like, I think one of the first steps in things going in the right direction for you, like with travel, because you were like, that was different. Like,
Yeah. And
But this was also during the pandemic, right?
no, this was in
not that part.
Oh,
Yeah.
the first time.
2018.
Okay, the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time. But then, yeah, all the immigration stuff with the lawyer that we did was all through the pandemic. We got it all done and finalized in September. We had started the process in like late July or
Yeah.
mid-July.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
July.
Yeah. So it took about a month, which, you know what, like, when you hear US immigration, you think like it's a long process, and it is, but we got it done with the help of a lawyer and with everyone's tenacity, with everyone like on the same page at all times. It took a lot of meetings, a lot of hours spent, a lot of research.
And that's
But
only
yeah, we got done in weeks.
that was only like the legal immigration side. We haven't even talked about accounting and taxes.
Oh
And
no.
I
Oh
was a
no.
Canadian company, and
Yep.
to be paid legally, we had to figure that out. Like, do we, are we contracted as a Canadian company? Am I individual? But we were still working on a visa, so then we had to figure out how to use our Canadian company so we could legally
To
be
leverage
there.
it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
That. And then also, remember, what was it? There was they messed something up on the paperwork.
Oh,
They put the wrong visa type.
oh my gosh,
They
yeah.
didn't change it, right? So I remember she called me freaking out. So I had to talk to the lawyer. He's just like, oh God. He's like, you can change it online. So it's like another thing that I
Oh,
learned.
that was to get my social security
Yeah. They put the wrong visa type and they weren't even trying to help her fix it.
No.
That was the messed up part. So I'm over there in Canada, literally, like, I think I was like at the gym in the parking lot.
I know.
And I was just like, it sucks that like she's there in person and they didn't want to help her. But for whatever reason, me in Toronto was able to help her online. Like, so weird, so bizarre.
But we had really great help. Honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Camille, if it wasn't for you. Because Camille's like so good at all of the research, and that's the stuff that I get. If I have to do research and I'm panicking, it's just like really hard for me to process anything. So, I appreciate it. We've talked about how having a solid team or even a support system when you're we're all entrepreneurs here. So like Devon and Camille also have their own businesses as well. But having a good support system, especially if you're trying to grow beyond yourself, as you guys know, like Devon and Camille have been with me for 3 to 4 years now, right? And that's actually a short amount of time, but we've built so much every year. The last episode, Devon and I were talking about how every year look completely different. Like in 2018, I was hiring therapists, in the start of hiring therapists. And then Camille hops on board and then she starts to manage more therapists. And then I had more time to focus on building online programs. And then a year later, 2019, the two of you encouraged me to start my own performance search system course. And so here we are now, in person and online.
So crazy. Oh man, I remember that. Or like the growing pains of like, or just the drama of like trying to secure spaces and like managing different schedules. Like that was a nightmare. I remember that, like sitting there, we had like a lot of late night calls, like, oh, this isn't working, or like this person's not available this time, or like we have requests for this area. And then we tried mobile.
Oh like my God, we tried mobile.
Remember that? Yeah, like we threw everything at the wall. We threw everything at the wall. Like,
oh my God, I totally forgot about that. And we, like, I reached out to personal training mobile a couple of times.
Yes.
And like we tried to pick their brain, and then we realized we were like, do we want to do all this? It sounds like a nightmare. And then we're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
No. We even remember we even tried like e-commerce for like stretch straps for the table.
Yep.
And then I talked to the guys at Umoro, that Joe and because they're friends with Scott and Vinny from My Detox.
Right.
And they're like, talk to them because they'll give you more insight. And then I talked to them for about 10 minutes, and they're like, there's no market here.
Yeah.
So it helped to have that and to do research and to I'm glad I had that conversation with them early on, because we would have like put all this money and invested in that. Tends to be a lot of issues with a lot of people. They get passionate, they dive head first, but they're like, there's truly no market here. Like stretch therapist is very small so far.
Yeah.
They asked like very key questions, like how many stretch therapists are there in the world? And I was like, I think at the time there's like a couple thousand, but half of them probably aren't practicing anymore.
Exactly.
And then they were like, yeah, there's no market here. It's like, no.
Yeah. But like, kudos to you for taking that like advice, or like taking those insights and like transforming it into something else, and like realigning your focuses with your vision. Because some people, when they get really passionate about something, they'll talk to people in the right industries who are giving, honest, transparent advice. And because they're not used to that feedback, or because, they're too married to the what do you call this? Like to the idea, but not married enough to their vision, because there's a difference, that they don't listen and then they fail, which whatever, everyone's on their own path. But like, I think it's I think the reason why you're able to make changes year over year and get things done when you need to get them done or by your own deadlines is because you're able to be flexible and open to that type of feedback.
But I also think that we've made some risks,
Oh,
but
of
I
course, yeah.
noticed like we don't take any crazy risks. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's our safe spot. Like there's because doing anything in terms of like, I mean, because you do retail um, in your own other businesses, that sourcing material and all that stuff, it costs a lot upfront. And as you know, we like to build our business where it's like the least amount of, work and
Overhead.
overhead,
Yeah, of
um,
course.
and the, better return. So, I mean, that's a long time coming. We do our research and we bounce ideas off of each other. And I think as a team, we've created a, a service or a product, if you will, that is the most efficient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So with that, where is the stretch therapist going to next?
Hmm.
I'm such a good host.
Well, I mean, oof, we have a lot coming up, and we always have meetings where we get excited and then we kind of get distracted, and then Camille's really great at saying, "Okay, hold on, what the hell are we doing, guys?" So, I think and you guys can chime in. I think over the last 4 years, 3, 4 years we've been together, we've really we're learning how to hone in on like the vision and the mission. And we just reiterated, what the vision and mission is for us. And that changes every year. Um, I think where it's heading is, I mean, I guess we could announce the routine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. So obviously, our focus is the performance stretch system, and that's our online and in person. Both are very important to us. Uh, the online space is great because we get to reach a ton more people, and so we're really hoping to push that more and reach people in Germany, and we've had people from Puerto Rico and Saudi Arabia, and that's in person. So you can imagine our reach when we focus on the online space. But we also want to contribute to the general public, Gen Pop. So we are coming out with a performance stretch routine. So it's sort of like a do-it-yourself mobility routine that I've sort of put together because it's something that I do practically every day, and the homework that I give to my clients and our graduates as well. So it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I honestly do it every single day, and I want to share it with the world. So, Devon's on board with this. She's going to be um, also teaching this performance stretch routine, and our instructors are going to be teaching it as well. So um, I'm excited to launch that soon at some point, 2022, I
Yay,
think.
yay, yay.
Yay.
And then we also have level 2 coming in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We have a level 2 already, all of the moves put together. So we're just trying to strategize the best way to release it and launch it. I mean, you can add stuff. You can add to that if you want, Devon. I know Devon's super passionate about level 2.
Yeah,
Well, level
100%.
2 comes after level 1, right? Like the reason why we've been pushing off is because we need a certain amount of level 1 graduates in order to actually release level 2, right? So we've only really been fully out. The online program is what, just turning a year old almost.
Yeah,
Like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
Over a year, yeah.
yeah,
over
just
a
over a
year,
year.
like
Yeah.
just over a year old. So like we still are, and we have more in-person courses. So we need to build up the level 1s in order, because you need to have level 1 in order to be able to take level 2. Like that's the prerequisite. So yeah, that's the only reason we've been holding it off, but we already know what we want to do with level 2. We just got to film it. So
Gotta film it,
yeah, that's it. Right.
teach it, film it. I love how it's like, that's it, but it's like, it's a
It's a
whole
lot.
process.
Yeah.
But it is, but it is to a certain extent, because if you think about all the other stuff that like goes into it, like that is probably like the easiest part of doing the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like
I mean,
creating it is
seemingly,
way harder. Creating
Seemingly.
it is
Yeah.
way harder.
actually, I think creating it is easier for me.
Yeah.
I think filming it is hard for me. It's a lot of effort and energy. And filming level one, that I blacked out those couple of months. I don't even know what happened because I had to film it several times. I had to film it first on my phone and GoPro and try to edit it myself because of pandemic. We couldn't hire videographers, and we needed to get it out as quickly as possible because we had to cancel the in-person course. And then I had to shoot it again with a video crew. So it's a lot, you know, and trying to show up for a camera and then also be clear in your instruction, um, and then to do the actual work. So it's actually a source of anxiety for me. But I do it because it helps people. So
Yeah. I was like, it's not as easy as it looks. I only had to film one part, and I was like,
yeah, and that took like a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not easy, and then you're just like, okay, do we keep filming for the day? How tired am I? Like how much energy do I have? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then, you know, at the end of the day, thankfully we have a mission and vision that that's sort of been ingrained in us now, that kind of overrides any personal discomfort we might have. So
yeah,
I'm
you
thankful
just
for
push through.
that.
It's like a workout, right? Like where you're like, remember why you're doing this. Remember, you know what I mean? Remember your why, and that's what gives you the adrenaline to push through to all the way to the end.
And you know what? Like, I want to say that having a great team and support system is that you also don't want to let each other down, you know,
Yeah.
because we have a common goal. It's like, okay, let's do, you know, our role really well so that we don't let others down. And, but the great thing is if we are dropping the ball, like, for example, when I've dropped the ball many, many times, you both called me out, and it helps grow the business a lot, especially since we swallow our pride and our egos because we know like this is for the good of the business, this is for the good of our vision, which is to help as many people as possible unlock their potential. So, you know, we swallow our pride, and it's not about us. Like what we're doing has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with, you know, helping the world, stretch the world, changing lives, and unlocking potential. So that's what we're here for, and I'm grateful.
Yay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love that.
So before we wrap up, is there anything you guys want to add or tell the folks?
Oh, we don't, and we'll probably have to do another episode then.
Oh, for sure.
What I'm trying to get into is finances and how, because people always ask me, like, how do
Oh,
you, you know, build a team and pay them? And like, because we've never had any investors or investments or like, it's not like we have like a fusion of money and then I can just like pay people. We had growing pains, especially through that. And, you know, that's still something that we deal with. It's like, okay, you know, based on revenue or like what are our goals so that we can pay our team really well. That's especially for a small business that's in its infancy, I guess, like within the first 5 years. That's not easy. And I do want, you know, we'll probably do a one-on-one discussion, Camille, where we can talk about that because I think it's important for us to share, you know, the heartaches, the struggles, the tears, like,
yeah. Oh man.
oh, it's a
It's a
lot.
lot. It's a lot for sure. And it's funny because like I think people forget like there's an energy and emotion behind finances. And like that's why like I don't know. There's so many, you hit it, like there's so many levels to this like that we had to get through, that we still go through. And like thankfully because we've had such radical transparency with each other, which I really appreciate. Like it's just been so easy to move forward. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into that next time.
Right? Gosh. And then, I mean, and then we could have another separate conversation. And Devon, you've been exposed to this too, where we've hired different people for different roles and needs. And, you know, there's been a lot of people that it has been, I wouldn't say a waste of time, but where we've looked back and said, okay, that was kind of a mistake on our end. Like, I think it'd be nice for us to share those mistakes, like how we hired, let's say a copywriter that we loved initially, and then as time went on, it didn't really work out. And that was heartbreaking for us because we invested so much time and money. And then I don't like when we put ourselves in a position where we have to work with something we paid for. Like, I hate that because we don't want to feel like we're throwing away money. So, we've tried to make things work. But I think we've done a decent job at it. I mean, there's still, things we're trying to repair. Like, Devon, you have to go through some like old website copy. And like, we haven't even gotten into that, like websites, creating those websites, e-commerce or like course platforms. So we have a lot of content and topics that and subjects I'd like for us to dive in over the course of these interviews and discussions. So I hope you all, whoever's listening, are excited and eager to learn from our mistakes, because there are so many.
It's been fun though. It's been so fun. It's been I love learning this way, learning through experience. It's been really fun. So thank you.
Fun now.
It's true. Some of it is so stressful.
It's so stressful. And in the beginning, actually, Cam, you've really taught me how to calm down and like take a look at the situation, take a step back, and realize it doesn't define me in that moment. Because you've always kept a very even-keeled, even-tempered, persona throughout everything. And like me, I get really panicky and freaked out, and I get really upset, and I take things out on like my family and like my friends and those close to me. But now I've learned to surrender and enjoy the journey. So even when we were going through immigration and I wanted to rip my hair out, I think at some point I finally let go, and I was like, this is kind of fun. Like, if I'm meant to be in the States, it'll happen. But I used to freak out really easily, and now I'm just like, that's
like your word now, surrender. You said it to me last week. You're like, I'm just gonna surrender and let you do your thing. I'm like, okay.
Yes, it's easier on me. It's less stressful, and it's like way more relaxing.
Yeah, right.
It's like you have a team now. It's because like, let's say we're on this raft. We're in a whitewater raft, and it's going really fast and it's treacherous, and I'm like really trying so hard to control the raft. But then once I let go and just go with the flow and let the raft take us wherever the river wants us to go, I can just sit back and relax. There are moments where obviously we're going to have to like try not to die. But I feel like for the most part, there are moments where we can just like enjoy the ride. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yay.
I feel like Camille's really good at calming us all down.
Oh,
because when I get riled up, and I was like, just kick them out. That's it. Like, just quit. Get them. Like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's get it done. And Camille's like, maybe we should just take a step back.
Yeah, let's look at all sides.
Exactly. It's like,
you don't need to lunge at them just yet.
I know.
There's a strategic way to do all the things that we want to do.
And I think that speaks to your experience. Also, just your like natural demeanor and who you are, but also your experience. Like, it's clear you have a ton of experience in this field, in corporate, in just like dealing with people, managing people and behaviors. And I'd love to talk more about that and how you learn to manage other people's behaviors, because that's essentially what you do. And that's a powerful tool, because it's like, it's kind of sneaky and not in your face, but you can like manipulate the situation however you want the outcome.
Don't tell anyone my secrets. Enough.
Well, we can say it.
Don't know when we're being manipulated, Camille. Like, we know what's happening, but you're like, this is probably really good for me.
Like, okay, fine.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. Camille uses her powers for good, though.
Yes.
Only, and we can talk about your secret, but like not everyone has the skill. Like, we can talk about it, but they're not going to be able to execute what you do.
It's true. Sorry.
If you want to take Camille's masterclass on how to manipulate a situation and other people.
Oh my God.
Okay, well,
Link
that
in
was great,
bio.
ladies. Yeah, link in bio, right here. Press the cards or click the cards here and
Just
here.
just FYI to those trying to find something to click, there's nothing.
There's nothing on that.
It's a joke.
It's not for sale.
It's a joke. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Camille.
Thank
And
you.
as always, Sarah, it's a pleasure to have you here. I don't know why my accent changed. But
It's all
Well,
good. It's all good.
Devon, thank you for basically just like giving us a space to just talk. We just basically verbal diarrhea the whole time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So excited to see what we do next. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Woo!
Bye.